Shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash, and double honors to our elders and apostles of great millstone that taught us his truth. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful like Akim, teaching and preaching his truth with all righteousness and sincerity to Sak Yahweh Shai. Today's lesson is entitled U.S. Cities Erupt in Protest and Agreeing with Thine Adversaries Quickly, and Lord willing, you be edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, which are the true names of the Heavenly Father and his beloved Son in the Paleo Hebrew, and as always, the sit downs, the lessons, the street speaking is for the remnant, the elect, the Israel of the Most High, to you as the gospel preached. So we're going to be speaking on two different um, topics. All right, we're going to go into how there's been protests concerning the recent situation that happened in Detroit concerning the woman that was put down by ICE. All right. Salaki, yeah. The woman that was put down by ICE, all right, which this is more fuel to the fire here in Babylon the Great, which is America. The prophecies speak about how there will be uproars of the people in the world, and the focal point of the Lord's prophecies are here in Babylon, which is America. So I'm gonna play this video, and then I'm gonna do a contrast on how it's expedient to agree with your adversaries. All right, which we quote Matthew 5:25, and we use it concerning dealing with law enforcement. All right, um, all this could have been avoided had the woman just stopped her car and obeyed the commands that ICE was giving. Right, and instead she went about with rebellion, which led to her deletion. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into this. At the end of the day, this is prophecy. This is gonna cause a divide here in Babylon the Great, which let me go ahead and load up Isaiah 19 before I forget it. And as always, our focal point is the prophecies, man. The prophecies lets us know what time and season we are in, and to let us know how close we are until the end of this regime, the end of this empire ruled by Esau, Edom. So let's tune in.
Immigration operation. That operation ending with two very different versions of what led up to that shooting. ICE calls it self-defense. The mayor calls it reckless abuse of power. Good evening, everybody. I'm Root Barrage. We begin tonight with video from the scene and a warning for you. It is graphic. 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good was.
All right, and they bust on her. All right, you seen the video? They giving her some commands. They telling her to do this and do that. She ignored it. She went about her own way, and she got put down. Now let's go ahead and start with Matthew 5, all right, which Yahweh Shai, which is he whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. He was giving his disciples, which later became an apostles, knowledge and wisdom on how to govern themselves while pushing this truth, going into the cities and the villages, pushing repentance and converting and worshiping the true power. With all signs, the Lord Yahweh Shai gave them power over unclean spirits to heal infirmities, so on and so forth. And we apply this to us today because we are forwarding the gospel of Yahweh Shai here in America. So here in Matthew um, 5:25, it says, agree with thine adversaries quickly. All right. If she would have just quickly obeyed the command that was given by the ICE agent, she would have been at home right now. While thou art in the way with him, least at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and now be cast into prison. If you don't agree with law enforcement, whether it's the police department, the sheriff's, ICE agents, all right, you the extreme case would be you would be put down like this woman was, or you have to go through all these motions, going to jail, and got to deal with the judge and being in prison, and all these different things that you don't feel like going through, man, that you don't want to go through. So it's expedient when you're having these encounters with law enforcement, you just agree. Now, Let's go into this word agree real quick. It's the Blue Letter Bible. Goes back to the Greek word euneo, of a peaceable spirit. You know, you ain't got to be all hostile. You ain't got to be all belligerent. You ain't got to be all extra. You want to say why. You want to ask these agents, hey, what are you doing this for? What are you doing that? You want to talk shit all in their face. These guys are already on edge, and they got special permission and license to do these acts. This guy's gonna get off scot-free. There's already videos coming out how they're saying that she almost hit one of the agents, and these agents is protecting themselves. All right, and they got the death angel on them. When the Lord put these death angels out on these people, they're not gonna spare nobody. Let's look at this in Ezekiel 9, which this goes into, as they entitled it, division of slaughter. You had these death angels, and then you had one angel that had the writer's inkhorn by his side to report these matters. Jake was going off when you read the previous chapters. But what happened was the Lord sent death upon Jake. All right. And this is the spirit that these death angels had. This is 9, Ezekiel 9:6. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. So when these death angels be working on the minds of these people, they're not gonna spare nobody. They don't give a damn if it was a woman. They don't give a damn if it was children in the car. They don't give a damn if it was an old woman, young woman, a maid. All right, these death angels is no respecter of persons. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, which this mark goes back to the Hebrew word tawal, which goes into the mark of exemption. All right, which is Lord willing, we laboring to have in this faith. And begin at my sanctuary, then they began at the ancient man which were before the house. But the point that I want to get is that when these death angels get sent by Yahweh Bashim Shai and is working on the minds of these people, they ain't gonna spare nobody. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. Ultimately, was judgment on that woman. Ain't no telling. A lot of these women are adulterous, they evil, they wicked, they got side
in front of a
niggas.
family member in a
You know, all kind of evil and wickedness. Now, I'm hearing that the woman was a Edomite, but let me see something. Let me see something real quick. 1 second. Okay. So, like, yeah, I just want to look up something real quick. I think I said in the beginning of the video that this situation happened in Detroit. It didn't happen in Detroit. It happened in Minnesota. 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 Hold on. Let me get the words right. Okay, this is the woman here. She's saying she was an amazing human being. If she was amazing, why did she abide by the commands from law enforcement? You see how they trying to spin it? Hold on. What is this laptop doing, man? Oh man, let's see something. My laptop is hold tight, Akim. My laptop is tripping right now. You know how it is on these videos. This stuff never happens. Come on, you catching up or what? Okay. Okay. She appears, she could be an Israelite. Point is, at the end of the day, this was judgment. All right. And as I was mentioning earlier, when these death angels are sent, which we was going into Ezekiel 9, they slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. So these death angels that's working on these agents, whether it's the police, sheriffs, the military, all right, they're not going to spare anyone. And this could have all been avoided had she agreed with thine adversary, which we went into that word agree, which goes into having a peaceful spirit, just basically being cordial. All right. And what that does is it backs those demons off that's on these guys. All right. But furthermore, this is gonna lead to, well, it's leading to US cities erupting protests. So let's look a little more into this, and then we'll go ahead and get some more prophecies, and Lord willing, this be edifying to the Lord's elect.
A massive memorial in Minneapolis tonight. Family, friends, and community officials say she tried to run over the Ram ICE officers with her vehicle, calling it an act of domestic terrorism. But witnesses say that's not what they saw. Here's some of them describe what happened.
I watched as a third person in full camo come and pull several times on the door handle, at which point the red vehicle reversed a few feet and started driving around, and the person who was by the driver's side originally, not the man who pulled on the door, but who was originally there, shot through the driver's side window 3 times.
And there was a maroon Honda kind of sideways in the road, and people were shouting move your car, you're obstructing the road. And the car,
yeah, so they telling her to move her car. She obstructing the road, which is breaking the law. Okay.
began to back up and then pull forward at maybe 2 miles an hour, and then someone started to shout no, no, and then a moment later 4 or 5 shots were fired into the vehicle. And at that point, I believe the person's foot hit the gas pedal pretty hard, and then it crashed into the nearest car on the opposite side of the street.
I saw the car parked in the road, and then a bunch of ICE agents walking up, screaming at her to move. And then when she backed up and then started to turn away to move and to get out of their way, then one of the guys jumped in front of the car. Another guy tried to rip the door open, and then somebody else.
Yeah, but from the video, it doesn't look like that. It looks like, look, when you look at the video, right?
Abuse of power. Good evening, Vic.
Sound like he said, "Get out the car," and she got on. You got these guys just because it's a woman, they want to try to speak in a way that things can work out in her favor to make her look good. But from what I'm seeing, first off, why are you even parked like that? Yeah, the way she's pulling back and going forward, that's aggressive. You come in with this aggressive behavior, this aggressive driving, that puts them on edge. And they ready to blow your brains out. Let me go ahead and get this in Ecclesiastes. I want to say it's the 10th chapter, because we're dwelling in the peril of our life. And let this be a message to the members of the hopeful elect. When you encountering these type of people, man, be on your P's and Q's. Be of a peaceable spirit. Oh, it may be. Let me see. It's either Ecclesiastes 5 or 10. Let me try to find it. Peril. Uh, 13. Ecclesiastes 13. There we go. Yeah, the word is in this, but sometimes it be we gotta search for the precept. So it's saying Ecclesiastes 13 and 13. Okay, it's not that one. Hold on. Um, 1 second. Nine. It's the ninth chapter. 9 and 13. It says, keep thee far from the man that have power to kill. These agents, they have power to kill. They've been given permission to, use that sword. If they feeling threatening, if they're able to justify it by saying that this is domestic terrorism, they're gonna pull that gun out. That's all they do is train. So shalt thou not doubt the fear of death, and if thou come unto him, make no fault. She's making faults, driving erratically, aggressively, doing it in reverse. That wasn't a smooth, the way she was driving that car. It wasn't in a way that it was pushing out, a peaceful type of spirit. It says, "Lest he take away thy life presently," and that's what he did. "Remember that thou goest in the midst of snares, and thou walkest upon the battlements of the city." So we're in a dangerous place to fall. So when you're around these agents, police, sheriffs, military, make no fault. Have a peaceful spirit. Now, black culture, Mexican culture, Native American culture will teach you that, look, you ain't backing down from nobody. You a man. You standing on business. Ain't nobody telling you what to do. I got my rights. You know, these people don't give a damn about your rights, and this guy's gonna get off scot free. Now, segue into the other part of the lesson. Our uproars. This is Second Edges 9:1. He answered me then and said, "Measure thou the time diligently in itself." We judging it. We judging the time by seeing what's going on in the world, and we linking it up with biblical prophecy. We make the videos on it so the sincere members of the hopeful elect will know, what time we in. And we in the time of hate, we in the time of war, we in the time of Esau coming down with great wrath, we in the time of persecution, we in the time where the doors of mercy are slowly closing, we in the time where it's apostasy, agents, and sellouts. All right. We in the time that Yahushua is gathering the members of his hopeful elect by his word, so on and so forth. It says, "And when thou seest part of the signs past, which are the prophecies which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made," which the Lord starts his visitation off by having these prophecies come to pass. "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and upwards of the people of the world," and Esau need these type of situations to crack off in Babylon so he can bring some order, take away more rights, take away more liberty, cause T attacks, all right, blame you, and just to make the Babylon experience, worse. Isaiah 9:2. "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians." All right, you had the mayor of Minnesota come out and say, "ICE, get the fuck out of here." All right, Edomite against Edomite, American against American. You got these social divides, you have this economic divide, you have this political divide, you have all this energy that's going to cause the love of many to wax cold here. And I did a lesson yesterday saying the energy, a live stream, the energy in the world is changing. Motherfuckers is angry. "And they shall fight everyone against his brother, everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." All right. So this is the energy that's happening right now. So let's look at some protests and then we'll close it out.
Let's get live. The Fox News Lauren Edwards, she's there now where all of these protests happen. She spoke to the organizers, and Lauren, I'm sure they had a lot to say.
Oh, absolutely, Ruth. You know, before any of this happened, I just took a quick look at the map. Just wanted to see how far Minneapolis is away from here. And it's about 10 hours and 27 minutes. And even though the tragedy happened over there, it was definitely felt here. Many saying that it's the reason why they gathered and protested in the area behind us. Take a quick listen to just some of the chanting.
No ban, no wall, sanctuary for all. No ban.
Now, as you're looking at right now, dozens of Detroiters in front of the ICE building on Michigan Avenue in the downtown area, protesting that fatal shooting of Renee Good up in Minneapolis. And as Minnesotans took to the streets, so did Detroiters marching and chanting through the downtown area as well.
So people from Detroit, people from Michigan. I'm also hearing reports from people in New York. All right. And this isn't the first time that this happened. Remember last year, you had nationwide protests against ICE concerning the deportations that was happening to the Mexicans and Venezuelan and Colombians, different tribes of the Northern Kingdom. All right. So we learned a couple of things. We learned, hey, agreeing with your adversaries, be of a peaceable spirit when you encounter these law enforcements, man. So that way you can get home. And we learned that, look, you want to make no fault in the presence of these people because they have power to kill and they'll take away your life and they'll go home. Right? Then we learned that, look, uproar is going to be Egyptians against Egyptians. It's going to be Edomites that condemn these acts from their government. And there was a video or a tweet that Trump put saying that he basically
A massive memorial.
He cool with what happened because this ICE agent is saying that this was an act of domestic terrorism, which justified him pulling out that sword and using it on that woman, Renee Good. All right, so we're gonna see what happens with this. This plays into Esau's favor because this is another distraction. All right, you just had the situation with Venezuela and the U.S., which that looks shaky. Like I mentioned yesterday, there's videos of the dude Maduro with 4 different outfits on the way to Babylon. And there's videos coming out going into how, where was his military at? Where was his mighty men at? Where was all his army officials at? Why they couldn't, fight back? So Babylon is full of lies and robberies, but we're going to report on these things and stay on our watch. Lord willing, you are edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Kakwadash. Keep watching, Akim. Babylon in 2026 is off to a great start. Shalom.